Come see us do stand-up in Baltimore, Hartford, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Levittown, New York, Cohoes, New York, Providence, Rhode Island, and San Jose, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for the tickets. This is happening currently in Syria, as predicted for many years. Not only by Tulsi Gabbard, but people like you and people like this show, which shows it's not hard to predict. If I can figure it out, that's what I've always told people. I'm a C student, and if I can figure it out, then the people who run
you
things...
do a pretty good job.
I appreciate that. So what's happening right now is the jihadists, so the Al-Qaeda basically has taken over Syria, and we've said that if you get rid of Assad, do you know who he's fighting against? He's fighting against Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and Islamic terrorists, and that's who's going to take over, and that's exactly who's taken over, and now they're massacring 1,000 Alawites and Christian men and women and children. And I just want to, this is what Tulsi Gabbard had to say. Now, here's a senator giving it to her, saying that when she speaks the truth about Syria, she was repeating Russian talking points. Let's watch. This is from her confirmation hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colonel Gabbard, when Russia was denying us use of chemical weapons, they accused the U.S. of supporting terrorists. This is a line that Putin used frequently during the Syrian civil war as he supported Assad. Syrian officials made similar comments. They did it repeatedly. They did it in public. They did it at the United Nations. In 2016, you gave an interview in which you said, and this is a quote, "The U.S. is providing direct and indirect support to terrorist groups in order to overthrow the Syrian government." And in 2019, on the Democratic presidential debate stage, you said of President Trump, this is a quote, "This current president is continuing to betray us. We were supposed to be going after al-Qaeda, but over years now, not only have we not gone after al-Qaeda, our president is supporting al-Qaeda." So I'm interested to hear, what was your goal in saying these things, and did you consider before?
What's your goal in telling the truth about what's happening there?
The motives of Iran and Russia.
Something?
Isn't that what's your goal? Why would you want to tell?
Ain't that something to tell the truth? What did you mean by that? They can't figure that out in Washington.
What's in it for you to tell the people the truth? Somebody who's actually in the military. Well, here's what she said.
Their motives might have been before making these claims.
Senator, as someone who enlisted in the military specifically because of al-Qaeda's terrorist attack on 9/11 and committing myself and my life to doing what I could to defeat these terrorists, it was shocking and a betrayal to me and every person who was killed on 9/11, their families and my brothers and sisters in uniform. When as a member of Congress, I learned about President Obama's dual programs that he had begun really to overthrow the regime of Syria, and being willing to, through the CIA's Timber Sycamore program that has now been made public, of working with and arming and equipping al-Qaeda in an effort to overthrow that regime, starting yet another regime change war in the Middle East. DoD train and equip program, again, begun under President Obama, is widely been known, looked at and studied, that ultimately resulted in over $500 million being used to train who they called moderate rebels, but were actually fighters working with and aligned with al-Qaeda's affiliate on the ground in Syria, all to move forward with their regime change and not acknowledging what was obvious at the time and what has unfortunately borne true, which was that a regime change war in Syria, much like the regime change wars in Iraq, the toppling of Gaddafi and Mubarak, while these are all dictators, would likely result in the rise of Islamist extremists like al-Qaeda taking power. I shed no tears for the fall of the Assad regime, but today we have an Islamist extremist who is now in charge of Syria, as I said, who danced on the streets to celebrate the 9/11 attack, who ruled over Idlib with an Islamist extremist governance, and who has already begun to persecute and kill and arrest religious minorities like Christians in Syria.
I understand.
Why that should be acceptable to anyone is beyond me. It is certainly not in our
interest. I appreciate your answer, and thank you. My concern has to do with the tendency to repeat Russian and Syrian, and even in some cases, I think we'll get into in the closed session, Iranian information, and to discount what comes from our intelligence community.
Again, so if you tell the truth about what's happening, they'll just say, well, you sound like Russian, or you sound like you're Iranian, you sound like our enemies. So telling the truth now, that's what they do. They say you're a traitor. They said this during the Iraq War, which is just amazing to see it be repeated over and over, especially right now as they're slaughtering Christians and Alawites, and they're filming it, and it's all over social media. I can't show it here, but it's all over the place. I mean, that's just, it's demoralizing to me, and this is exactly how it played out, and American people don't know that Al-Qaeda is running Syria. Take it where you want.
I think there are many things to be said about this. First, thank God for Tulsi Gabbard. She is the best, and you saw she is so impressive. I've known her for a long time. She speaks the truth. She's incredibly intelligent. Incredibly straightforward and honest. So this is one shocking piece of good news, I would say, that she's head of national intelligence right now. So that's one good piece. The sad part is, everything she said was exactly right, which is that the overthrow of Assad started with Obama. Timber Sycamore is a CIA operation to overthrow Assad. I know, by the way, in a very special way, the war in Syria could have ended in peace 12 years ago, but the U.S. blocked it because their mission was the overthrow of Assad. They weren't interested in peace. It was the overthrow of Assad. Now, it's also important for people to understand, it's not that Assad fell and al-Qaeda filled in the vacuum. We made al-Qaeda, please. Everyone needs to understand this. This goes back 46 years now, by the way. It goes back to Afghanistan, 1979, actually to an idea of Zbig Brzezinski. And Zbig Brzezinski's idea was, we will support what was called the Mujahideen, the Islamic fighters in Afghanistan, and that will torment the Soviet Union. It will be a lure to bring the Soviet Union into an invasion of Afghanistan that will become the Soviet Vietnam. That was his concept. We made the al-Qaeda idea. We worked alongside Osama bin Laden. We hired the troops, we trained them, we armed them. Afterwards, we've used these jihadists again and again. The CIA has used them as its fighters on the ground in these various wars. Another thing people need to understand, these have been Bibi's wars. This is extremist Israeli government policy to which the U.S. has been, and I'm going to use a term advisedly, subservient to the Israeli government. This is not America's interest. But it's Bibi, Benjamin Netanyahu, who said with his American neocon buddies, who said 7 wars, we need to take out all of Israel's foes. That is Libya, that's Somalia, that's Sudan, that's Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, and Iran. 7 he wanted. We've done 6. It's left a bloodbath across the region. It's destabilized the Middle East. It has left a massive destruction of our budget, a massive debt, how many people dead and wounded, including our own veterans. It's done all of that. And that's been Bibi's wars. And I hope, my God, I hope Trump figures out to have American foreign policy, not Israeli foreign policy, because that is absolutely part of this long, long saga. So none of this is an accident. It's all stupid. It's all horrible. It doesn't work the way they think, that you invade Iraq and suddenly it's an American center of power. You invade Syria and try to overthrow Assad, and somehow you get something that is quote, pro-Israel or pro the United States, or you topple Libya. Every one of these places is in civil war right now. Sudan, we broke Sudan in 2, again at the behest of this vision of taking out all of Israel's enemies, broke Sudan in 2, got North Sudan, South Sudan. Each one has a civil war right now. Sudan in the north and South Sudan, each one has a terrible civil war. We've just been a destructive, mindless machine, this war machine that keeps revving. And that's what this is all about. And these senators, shame on them. Shame on them for even the way that they talk to Tulsi Gabbard. Oh, you're repeating Russian propaganda. Oh, and then he said in closed room, even maybe Iranian propaganda. How about the truth, Senator? Come on.
So the jihadists, which include foreign fighters as well as the ruling HTS means that's al-Qaeda. They just rebranded themselves. They're just going into homes of non-Sunnis and massacring whole families. That's what they're doing. The terrorists haven't been shy about uploading their killings on the internet as well as live streams. Men, women, children, even babies are being brutally murdered But instead of calling out the obvious ethno-religious genocide unfolding, the European Union had the audacity to issue this statement. The European Union strongly condemns the recent attacks, reportedly by pro-Assad elements, on interim government forces in the coastal areas of Syria and all violence against. So what the European Union is doing is siding with Al-Qaeda. They're siding with Al-Qaeda in Syria, who are now slaughtering, as predicted, Christians, Alawites, anybody non-Sunni, and they're videotaping it and uploading it to social media. That's what's happening right now in
Very
Syria.
IDF of them.
That's very IDF of them. They're doing that in Syria, and they're Western-backed, meaning the United States did this. The guy who's running Syria right now was, up until 5 seconds ago, we had a $10 million reward for his capture because he ran Al-Qaeda. And so, but they don't want you to know Timber Sycamore was the CIA funding Al-Qaeda and ISIS and all these Islamic terrorists inside Syria to overthrow Assad. So why? Well, at the behest of Benjamin Netanyahu, and they want to put a pipeline there from Qatar, Saudi Arabia. They want to put a pipeline through Syria, and Syria is aligned with Russia. Russia wants to have, they want to be selling natural gas. They don't want to have this competition. So again, it comes down to economics. These are all economic wars about fossil fuels. That's what this is all about once again. And now we're in bed with Al-Qaeda, so we can do the bidding of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and do the bidding of Qatar and Saudi Arabia. And that's what this is all about. And anything you want to add to that, Kurt?
Yeah. First of all, stop dead naming HTS. Call them Al-Qaeda. But you see how they try to bury it, how the language, how wormy it is to bury it, so it's the most bland. We condemn the recent attacks by the pro-Assad elements on the interim government forces. Nothing about kids and women and children in there or civilians. And then not even Al-Qaeda, it's HTS.
Yes.
Another 3-letter word, like a moniker that is easy to confuse with another one. So they just bury this with their language alone. They specially design language to make you not think about ethnic cleansings they don't want you thinking about.
And here's that's what the European Union says. And here's the truth. An Eastern Orthodox Church priest, he said this: as you see the unfolding tragedy in Syria, keep in mind, this is your tax dollars at work. This was brought to you by the United States government, the state of Israel, and Turkey. They said Assad was bad. This is what they replaced Assad with. And Danny Haifong says, the overthrow of Bashar al-Assad will go down as a historic tragedy for Syria and the world. A tragedy sponsored by Turkey, Qatar, Israel, the U.S., and axis of empire, a genocide enabled by all those who cheered regime change in Syria. The blood falls at their feet, and he's retweeting this that says, according to some estimates, over 10,000 Alawites and Christians have been slaughtered in Syria.
Well, Hillary's email said that wouldn't be a bad thing.
And Syrian Christians fear they are next to be targeted on a large scale. Their warnings have largely fallen on deaf ears in the West. The UK has lifted the sanctions on Syria, including the central bank, and a landmark move that could be a turning point in Syria's devastated economy. Britain has become the first country to unfreeze all assets of the central bank of Syria. So they're 100% on board with Islamic fundamental terrorists, Al-Qaeda and ISIS. The state,
Jimmy,
because we invented
Israel?
them for a reason. Go ahead.
Wait, remember they gave Iran's money back, and we have to worry they're going to attack Israel? You're giving it to Al-Qaeda?
Yeah.
What if they go after Israel? They're hardcore Islamists.
Yeah, they're not doing that, Kurt. Isn't that weird that they're not? In fact, the state airline and state-owned oil companies are amongst other previously sanctioned entities removed from the sanctions list on Thursday afternoon. This approach underscores our commitment to help the people of Syria rebuild their country and economy, including through support for a Syrian-led and Syrian-owned political transition process. That was the UK government said. We will continue to judge Syria's interim authorities by their actions, not their words. Okay, no, you're not. So this has nothing to do with helping the people of Syria. This has to do with Israel. This has to do with Qatar. This has to do with energy transfers. That's what this always has to do with. That's what it's happening. And they're slaughtering people now. Of course they are. And the United States is the responsible for this.
They already judged their actions in that tepid EU statement.
Yeah, there's one more. Craig Murray. So here's the headline from the Guardian. Entire families reported killed in fighting in northwest Syria, the UN says. He says the Guardian uses its appalling Israeli propaganda model on Syria. Hundreds of Alawite women and children, it says, were killed in fighting. No, they were murdered. They were massacred. They weren't killed in fighting. This isn't collateral damage. These are them going into their homes and slaughtering them. That's what this is. Ilan Mazzari says, I have to admit my previous ignorance. I had no idea what kind of monsters the Assad regime was fighting, armed, financed, and sent in by Turkey, Israel, and the Gulf states and the West to destroy Syria. For years, I thought it was at least partially a popular rebellion. What's unfolding in Syria in the last couple of days is close to a complete exoneration of Assad. Now we know the horror he and his regime were facing. The horror is what Barack Obama's Operation Timber Sycamore was intended to achieve in Syria. Mission accomplished, I guess. This is what Barack Obama started. This is what Joe Biden continued. This is right now what Trump is allowing to happen.
Do you think he'll make a Netflix movie about it, Obama?
Yeah, and it'll all be a lie. Here's one more I'll show you. Jolani, who is the head Al-Qaeda guy, now they call him HDS, are now executing Alawites by going door to door. They're being shot in the head. You can hear other executions in the background. This isn't counterterrorism. This is ethnic cleansing. Jolani regime supporters will claim all these publicly executed people were Assad regime remnants. So just so you know what you're in bed with. So if you're a MAGA or you're a Daily Wire viewer, this is what you're in. This is what the United States has invented, created, and is facilitating in Syria. And this is what people like Tulsi Gabbard, which is why I supported her when she ran for president, was the only person speaking the truth about. The only person. And that nitwit Barry Weiss, that tool of the Zionists and Benjamin Netanyahu, called her on Joe Rogan's show an Assadist and horrific and what did he call her?
Assad toady.
A toady, an Assad toady. And then
it's so bad she doesn't even know what it means. That's how bad of a word
it was. So bad she didn't even know what the word meant. She was just repeating it. So that's what your country. So I just want to make sure MAGA knows exactly what's happening in Syria, that the United States is in bed with Al-Qaeda, okay? The people who attacked us on 9/11.
I hope all the vets know. I hope people that lost their limbs in a 20-year thing we lost notice that we're now working with Al-Qaeda.
I guess it's okay to ethnic cleanse as long as the West backs you. I guess that's it.
Yeah, well, that's obvious. I think that's it's called the rules-based order, and that's like the golden rule.
I mean, radical Islamists are dangerous, except when the United States backs it, then it's okay.
Yeah, it's like when the ADL says you're not Nazis anymore. It means you're not Nazis.
Yeah. Hey, here's something I'm actually excited about. Health insurance is confusing, expensive, it's frustrating, it bankrupted me, and claim denials are becoming more and more common. In fact, 1 in 5 Obamacare claims were denied last year. That's unacceptable. The headache of health insurance is exactly why Crowd Health was created. It's not health insurance. It's a better way to pay for healthcare through crowdfunding. The health insurance process is confusing and can leave you feeling taken advantage of, like when I had my bone disease and I had great Blue Cross Healthcare, and I still went bankrupt, had to take out a second mortgage just to pay some bills because they wouldn't cover the treatments that my doctor wanted me to have. Crowd Health does things differently. Stop sending money to big insurance companies who profit off not paying your bills. And check out Crowd Health. For $175 for an individual or $575 for a family of 4 or more, you'll get access to a community of people who are willing to help out in the event of an emergency. You'll get access to telemedicine visits, discounted prescriptions, and so much more without doctors' networks getting in the way. And of course, you'll join the crowd, a group of members just like you who want to help pay for each other's unexpected medical events. Let Crowd Health help your healthcare needs. Get started today for just $99 a month for your first 3 months by using the code Jimmy at joincrowdhealth.com. Crowd Health is not insurance. Learn more about joincrowdhealth.com. That's joincrowdhealth.com, code Jimmy. Come see us do stand-up in Baltimore, Hartford, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Levittown, New York, Cohoes, New York, Providence, Rhode Island, and San Jose, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for the tickets.